on October 8, 1871, two of the most devastating fires in American history erupted simultaneously, just a few hundred miles apart. One would become the deadliest fire in U.S. history, while the other would be remembered as one of the most destructive, bringing an entire city to its knees. These twin disasters, the Great Chicago Fire and the Peshtigo Fire, shared more than just a date. They were both fueled by a perfect storm of drought, high winds, and human error, yet their stories are often told separately. Today, we explore how these fires unfolded, their shared origins, and their lasting impact on American history. The 1870s were a time of profound change for the United States. The Civil War had ended just 6 years earlier, and the nation was still rebuilding during the Reconstruction era. While the South grappled with the aftermath of war, the Midwest was experiencing a different kind of transformation. Rapid industrialization, economic expansion, and technological advancements were driving unprecedented growth, particularly in cities like Chicago. Chicago, strategically located near Lake Michigan, had become a national symbol of progress. Its population exploded from 30,000 in 1850 to nearly 300,000 by 1870, as immigrants flocked to the city for jobs in its booming industries. The city's railroad system, the largest in the country, turned it into a hub for trade and raw materials. But this rapid growth came at a cost. Much of Chicago was built with wood, cheap, readily available, and highly flammable. Homes, factories, sidewalks, and even roads were constructed from timber, creating a tinderbox waiting to ignite. About 220 miles to the north, the small town of Peshtigo, Wisconsin, was experiencing its own version of rapid growth. Nestled in one of the most densely forested regions of the country, Peshtigo was a center for the lumber industry. By 1871, it was home to the world's largest woodenware factory and one of the biggest sawmills in the U.S. Like Chicago, Peshtigo was built almost entirely of wood, and its economy depended on the very material that would soon contribute to its destruction. The events of October 8, 1871, were set in motion by a year of unusually dry weather. The fall and winter of 1870 had been arid, and the drought continued into the spring and summer of 1871. By early October, the Midwest was parched. Chicago had received only 3.5 inches of rain between July and October, making it the second driest period on record. Peshtigo, surrounded by dense forests, was even more vulnerable. The region had seen less than an inch of rain in September, and not a single drop fell in the days leading up to the fires. Adding to the danger were the unseasonably high temperatures and strong winds. On October 8th, gusts reached up to 60 miles per hour, creating ideal conditions for fire to spread rapidly. In both Chicago and Peshtigo, the stage was set for disaster. The Great Chicago Fire began around 9 p.m. on October 8th, in a small barn on DeKoven Street, owned by Patrick and Catherine O'Leary. The exact cause remains a mystery, though legends abound. The most famous story blames Mrs. O'Leary's cow, which allegedly kicked over a lantern while being milked. Other theories suggest careless gamblers, vandals, or even spontaneous combustion due to the dry conditions. Whatever the cause, the fire spread quickly, fueled by the wooden structures and high winds. Chicago's fire department, exhausted from fighting a large blaze the previous night, was ill-prepared to handle the rapidly expanding Inferno. Miscommunication and confusion delayed their response, and by the time firefighters arrived, the flames had already jumped to nearby buildings. The fire raced northward, consuming everything in its path. By midnight, it had crossed the Chicago River, igniting lumber yards, coal stores, and the Southside Gas Works. Mayor Roswell B. Mason declared a state of emergency, telegraphing nearby cities for help, but it was too late. The fire raged unchecked, destroying homes, businesses, and landmarks. At one point, a fire whirl, a tornado-like vortex of flames, formed, hurling burning debris across the city. By the time the fire burned itself out on October 10th, aided by a sudden rainstorm, it had devastated an area 4 miles long and 3/4 of a mile wide. Nearly 17,500 buildings were destroyed, leaving 100,000 people homeless. The death toll, though uncertain, is estimated at around 300. While Chicago burned, an even deadlier fire was consuming Peshtigo. The town, surrounded by forests and littered with debris from logging operations, was a powder keg waiting to explode. On October 8th, a series of small fires set by lumberjacks to clear land merged into one massive blaze, driven by the high winds. By evening, the fire had reached Peshtigo. Reverend Peter Pernin, a local priest, described the scene in vivid detail. As the fire approached, he rushed to save sacred items from his church, only to be met by a wall of flames. The fire moved with terrifying speed, consuming homes, businesses, and people. Many residents fled to the Peshtigo River, where they submerged themselves in the frigid water to escape the heat. Some survived, but others succumbed to hypothermia or were overcome by the flames. The Peshtigo fire burned hotter and faster than the Chicago fire, reaching temperatures of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It created its own fire whirl, which Reverend Pernin described as a tornado of fire. By the time the fire burned itself out early on October 9th, it had destroyed over 1.2 million acres of land and killed an estimated 1,200 to 2,500 people, making it the deadliest fire in U.S. history. In the wake of the fires, both cities faced immense challenges. Chicago, despite its devastation, rebuilt quickly. New building codes required fireproof materials like brick and stone, transforming the city's architecture. By 1880, Chicago's population had rebounded to 500,000, and it reclaimed its status as a major economic hub. Peshtigo, however, struggled to recover. The town was completely destroyed, and its smaller size made rebuilding a slower process. Yet, the community persevered. The woodenware factory was rebuilt, and by 1881, Peshtigo had risen from the ashes. Reverend Pernin's church was among the first structures reconstructed, and it still stands today as a testament to the town's resilience. The fires of 1871 were a wake-up call for the nation. They highlighted the dangers of rapid urbanization and the need for better fire prevention and response systems. In Chicago, the disaster led to advancements in firefighting technology and urban planning. In Peshtigo, it underscored the importance of sustainable land management and the risks of slash-and-burn practices. Yet, the fires also revealed the strength of human resilience. Both cities rebuilt, and their stories serve as reminders of the fragility of human endeavors in the face of nature's power. The Great Chicago Fire and the Peshtigo Fire are often remembered as separate tragedies, but they are deeply connected by the conditions that fueled them and the lessons they imparted. Together, they represent a pivotal moment in American history, a time when the nation's rapid growth collided with the forces of nature, leaving devastation in its wake but also paving the way for progress. As we reflect on these events, we are reminded of the importance of preparedness, community, and resilience. The stories of Chicago and Peshtigo are not just tales of destruction. They are testaments to the enduring spirit of those who rise from the ashes.